So today what I'm going to cover is a thing called emptiness. You may have heard of it, or you may even have experienced an emptiness meditation. When you think about it, there's quite a lot of focus meditations that I teach that are essentially emptiness practices. For example, when we're focusing on the space around us, it's the space that we're focusing on. If we're focusing, we might do the inner body meditation. And the way that I teach it, sometimes I emphasize that the focus is on the space within the inner body rather than, focusing on our internal organs operating or the feeling of the chest or whatever it might happen to be. So it's not, the inner body meditation really isn't a sort of body scan style body meditation. And then when we do open awareness as well, what's happening is we're opening up our awareness to space, which can be seen as emptiness. Now, I found that the most useful way for me to meditate on emptiness was actually going inside. And by going inside, all I mean is focusing internally. So we'll try that today. But we'll also do some emptiness meditation on space. So taking a step back from all of that, the concept of emptiness meditation, or meditating on the emptiness, is, as I believe, a Buddhist one. There's a foundational Buddhist concept that everything is emptiness, and that the matter and energy that make up the universe resides within it. And so there's a goal, insofar as there is a goal to Buddhist meditation practice, of meditating on that emptiness. And so it can mean different things for different people. My own personal experience was that I think it was probably after about 18 months meditation, something like that, I found that I could focus on the breath, calm my mind and calm my emotions, and gain a kind of floating in space experience as part of my meditation practice. And I've since spoken to a lot of meditators who have all mentioned the same thing. I used it as a way of managing the craziness of my life. I remember thinking that it doesn't matter how stressful the day is, I could come home and I could sit and I could focus inward to the emptiness, and I was able to let it go, because the emptiness, by definition, there's no thought or emotion there. There's a sense that you're not even physically in the world, kind of floating in space feeling. And I did that for quite a while, and I don't think I became dependent on it, but I do remember that I found it incredibly useful. And I remember that at some point it didn't just cross my mind. I became aware that it was time. I felt somehow or another that it was time for me to reconnect with my meditations. And by that, what I mean is, reconnect the open awareness meditations, more work with the breath, noting practices, that kind of thing. I've I've read that there's this concept in some of the Buddhist traditions that practitioners become what they call drunk on emptiness. And I can see how that can come about, because it can be such a calming and relaxing, pleasurable experience that one tends to go for it all the time. And that was seen as not helpful to the progress of the practitioners, the monks. And I can see now, I think, looking at it, that for a period in our meditation practice, we do step back from the world. What happens is we use the tools we've learned, the ways of intervening with unhelpful thoughts and uncomfortable emotions, the ways of relaxing and reducing stress and letting go of worry and so on. And we'll use those to help us to cope. And that can then become a sort of end in itself. Whereas in actual fact, I would say that it's only a step on the path of meditation. One way that I look at all of these is that as we become more expert in them, this stepping back process, we discover that we probably need them less. And I think what's happening there is a bit of habituation. In our culture, avoiding feeling bad is quite high on the list of what people want. And so let's say you develop practices that work with your unhelpful thoughts, uncomfortable emotions and so on. And I believe that meditating on emptiness and being able to go into the emptiness to leave behind all of this is one of those. That it's like putting a bandage on a wound. What we're doing is we're helping ourselves to cope with the trauma and stress of the modern world. And then that then enables us to then reconnect with all of that discomfort, in the knowledge that there's always a possibility to step back from it. In a way, this is a little bit like the neutral spot meditation, where we focus on a neutral spot where there's no uncomfortable emotions, and we're dipping into the uncomfortable emotions without staying with them long enough to become overwhelmed by it. And so we're training ourselves, we're learning that we can step back from the modern world stresses, and that gives us the strength and the comfort and the ability to then be able to approach them and work with them. So I think the emptiness meditation, or a state of great calmness where thoughts are very soft and gentle or hardly exist, and where there is no really difficult emotion, that is it's an important step on our meditative path, but not an end in itself. And then what happens is we then focus outward with our meditation, and also inward to all of our feelings, and the beliefs arise and wisdom arises to explain what goes on inside us. You could say that wisdom is a little bit of a hippy-dippy idea. But I think as we become more familiar and comfortable with the mind, realization and recognition arises. We realize that, this feeling has come about because of this belief. We might recognize that these thoughts are as a result of some belief. That's what I mean when I speak about wisdom. And these things are another step on our progress through meditation. So in a nutshell, meditating on emptiness at the simplest level is us focusing on some space. Could be a space within us, could be a space outside of us. We might try this, focus on a space in a emptiness within a cup, for example. And what we're doing is developing a different perspective of reality there. And then it moves on to be another thing, which is a refuge, essentially. A refuge from the crazy world and the emotions and thoughts that arise as a result of it. And then as our expertise grows, it becomes somewhere that we can focus on to help us cope. And then from that point onwards, we're able to then work with whatever arises internally and externally, whatever the universe has in store for us. So it's a very important thing, emptiness. I don't do a great deal on it, but I think looking at the group that's online tonight, that many of you are experienced enough and probably encountered it yourselves. So we can just try my versions of how to access emptiness. So if you'd just like to get yourselves comfortable. We can focus on the sensation of how it feels to be us right here, right now, in the present moment, as the totality, allowing an awareness of the breath, sound, the sense of the body, the feeling of being pushed down into the ground. Thoughts arising, whatever emotions there are. And we can connect to the present moment, moving through time, through an awareness of the breath or through sound passing through time. By noticing the breath, we're noticing the rising and falling of the breath in the belly, or the sensation in the nostrils. And we can check in with the body's tension and stress as a totality. Gaining an awareness of our overall stress level, the tension in our body, in our shoulders, in our face, eyes, jaw, hands, neck, back. At which point, adjusting our posture to find maximum comfort with the elbows by the side and the head balanced comfortably on the spine becomes possible. So bring to mind a vessel of some sort. Could be a cup, could be a container. If there's something in the room that you're in. For instance, I can see a glass jar from here. You don't need to look at the object itself. But if you're aware of where it is, could be in another room. Out of your sight completely. But in the center of that vessel, that glass, that jar, that bottle, whatever it might happen to be, is emptiness. Space. Nothingness. And we can gently rest our attention on it. Notice it's not a sharp, deep concentration experience. It's an experience of allowing ourselves to be aware of it. Again, checking in with the body, releasing any tension that arises on the out-breath, and then returning our attention, our awareness, to the space inside the container, the vessel, whatever it is that we've brought to mind. And so there's no goal or expectation. There's no right or wrong way of doing this. The mind will do whatever the mind will do. You will feel however you will feel. We just have an intention. To be aware of the space inside the container. And what we intend is to rest our awareness on that space for the next few minutes. Let's practice this for the next few minutes. This will be our first meditation on emptiness. You may notice thought. Your mind might wander. None of that matters. When we notice, we return our attention to meditating on the space, on the emptiness in the container. And now allow your awareness to move to the space around you. As if you're in a room bring your awareness to the space equidistant between you and the walls or between you and the ceiling. So this will be like a bit of a dome around you in the room in a number of directions. All we're doing is instructing our perception and sensory systems to be sensitive to that place, that area. It's all part of our natural human legacy of sensory awareness, where we can bring an open focus, an open awareness to spaces around us and be sensitive to any movement or change there. Part of our survival and protective system. And now open it up to the space around the building that you're in. Yet again, we're focusing on the space, on the emptiness around the building. And now allow your awareness to slowly shrink down to the size of the space around you in the room, and then the space just surrounding your body. And then moving in and in, and allowing you to be aware of the space within your body, in your body itself. When we do this, generally the focus is on the area of the chest, or the top of the belly, but it can be wherever you want within your body. And we're just focusing on that space, not the physical sensations, although you may be aware of them. So there's two elements to this experience. There's the inner body that we're focusing our attention on, the space there, and there is that which is focusing on it, our awareness, which is somewhere. And what we can do is settle into our inner body with the awareness. So actually that which is noticing, that which is aware of whatever we're focusing on, also moves inside us into that space. And the most frictionless way of doing this is with the sense that you're settling down into a comfortable sofa or armchair, leaning back into it, comfortably falling but supported into that space in our body. And it's from there that we're actually aware of that same space. And that's where we stay gently. Frictionlessly, comfortably. So now there's a place equidistant between the belly button and the lower back, an inch below the belly button. And what we can do is allow our awareness and what we're aware of to settle down into that place. And this is an experience that would happen with no effort in time. As we become more comfortable holding our awareness within us and being aware of it within us, focusing on the inner body, the sense of being in the inner body, over time moving down to that place and being aware of our experience from there will just come about. Through the effortless and frictionless comfort of actually being inside ourselves. So there's no effort to be applied. There's just recognition that in time our sense of place in the universe will sink down to the dantian, the place between the belly and the lower back. So not meditating on any particular thing in our experience. We're allowing ourselves to be aware of being within ourselves and allowing ourselves to be aware of drifting down comfortably. So this place behind the belly button. And we can allow ourselves to be aware of the body around us. The belly rising and falling, the sensation of sitting. The breath moving the body. An awareness of whatever sound there is, marking the passage of time. And the energy of the body, the feeling of the body, the warmth and coolness and comfort and discomfort and tiredness and alertness and tension and relaxation and the sensations. The movement of the breath and the thoughts and the emotions and the sounds. The ambient sound. And the sound of the bell as it moves through time. Gently return your attention to your surroundings. In a nutshell, that's how I found my way into emptiness was actually that internal experience, because it was when I did that that the thoughts and emotions became softer and gentler and drifted away. And there can be a sense then of kind of floating in space without really anything much going on. So that was the opposite of an out of body experience. It was an in the body experience. Okay, so that's it for tonight on meditating on emptiness.